I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions. We all have so many different transitions in our life. I like to use the metaphor of triathlons. That's something that I do. And first in a triathlon, you swim. And then you go to the transition area. And then you get your bicycle and bike. And then there's another transition. And then you run. So that's a great metaphor for all the different things we do in our lifetime that makes up our life and makes life interesting, and the different paths that we go. And we have a most unusual, great guest today. Here in Music City, he's just left Music City and now is in New York City. And imagine a musician who is also a teacher, an adjunct professor, who also goes on the road and has played all over the world, and now has a dream job of working with all his past knowledge and up in New York and doing a curriculum teaching using rock and roll teaching. And it's the Rock and Roll Forever organization that he is a project manager on. And it's just an interesting story how his life has unfolded to have the dream job that he has now. So, Joshua Zarbo, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So glad that you are here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you have such an interesting background. And of course, we're in Music City. A lot of people out there are musicians. And tell us a little bit how you began. You got the music bug, but also you went to college. So tell us about how that happened, and then there was a little break, I think, and then explore that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I got into music through a cousin of mine who's a musician in New York City, and I'm from Virginia, and he came down to visit my family one summer when I was 12 or 13. And he really inspired me, and then I saved up my money and I bought my first bass. I'm a bass player. And then in high school, I got involved in just high school music activities through the school, and then I was playing in bands outside of high school. And then in college, I studied music and was playing in bands that whole time. And I transferred from a college in Virginia down to the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas.
Okay, and why did you do that?
They have a pretty renowned music program there at UNT.
Okay.
And so I went there to study music, and I was busy playing in bands more than studying.
Okay.
So I dropped out of school, and I met some guys that were in a band called Spoon, and that led me to Austin, where they were located. I moved to Austin to be with them.
Okay, and educate the people. Spoon, tell us about that.
Okay.
That is they had albums, and
Yeah.
and that brought you where in the world?
Yeah, they're really successful. They've been around quite a few years, since the mid '90s, and I played with them since the late '90s into the late 2000s, so about 10 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've made like a bunch of records with them and toured with them all over the world.
And they had a record deal, and
we had multiple record deals.
And hits.
And hits.
You did the dream there.
I did the dream, and yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun. I had a really good time.
And where did you tour? Give us a brief synopsis.
All over the U.S. and North America and Western Europe and, well, Europe and Australia. And then with them, I got to, say, record at the BBC or German television, music television in Germany, or ABC in Sydney, Australia. And a bunch of great studios that I got to record at in the U.S., just kind of renowned studios like Village Recorders in L.A., where everybody's recorded the Rolling Stones and Fleetwood Mac. And
wow, you and the Rolling Stones shared the same studio. That's impressive.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And then after Spoon, I kind of diverged into freelance work. When I left the band, I started just doing freelance work and playing with a lot of people in Austin when I was living there. And then I also went to back to college at that time.
To finish the degree.
To finish the degree, and then also get my master's in music.
Ah.
And so that's when I also, that kind of dovetailed into teaching at higher ed, which you were kind of talking about earlier. That's when I started teaching at Austin Community College. And I taught there for several years.
And what were you teaching?
I was teaching pretty much everything, almost everything on their curriculum, meaning I was teaching, well, not everything. I was teaching music history courses, ensemble courses, private lessons.
In bass?
Bass and composition.
Oh, wow.
And I was teaching lab courses, like maybe a group course where I would be teaching a group of people how to play guitar or guitar techniques or a guitar ensemble or popular music ensembles. And my master's degree mostly focuses on like popular American music. So the music history courses that I was teaching and have been teaching have mostly been related to American popular music, which kind of is what helped me get the job at the Rock and Roll Forever Foundation.
I see.
Because of my background in kind of being a music history scholar.
A music history scholar, I love that. And you can play music.
And I can play it.
Yeah, you can play it, and you know the background of it, the history, and you taught that, and that's extremely well-rounded.
Yeah, thank you. Well, most of my coworkers at the foundation also have somewhat of a similar background, where they're trained musicians primarily that also have gone into scholarship, into academia. One of my coworkers is in the middle of defending his dissertation. He's about to get his PhD in music, so he's getting a PhD in it, And then another one of my coworkers is pretty close to getting his PhD, and he's a drummer. They're both drummers. They've played with everybody, and so.
Wow. Yeah. So it's an interesting dichotomy. You have the playing ability and also the master's degree and the scholarly background also. But then you got your degree, you were teaching, and then you were in Texas, but then came to Nashville somehow.
That's right, yeah. I applied to an institution to teach in Middle Tennessee, and I got the job to teach at Middle Tennessee State University. And then that brought me and my wife here, and then while I was teaching there, I was also doing freelance playing. So when I was here in Nashville, I was playing with a guy named David Cook, who was like a American Idol winner from season 2008, I believe. And so I was playing in his band while I was also
teaching
working as adjunct faculty at Middle Tennessee State, and then I also taught at Nashville State Community College.
Where we are right now.
Where we are right now.
Yeah, where the studio is.
I taught right like the building across from us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very
it's
interesting.
really neat, actually. I used to walk by this building all the time.
And you never knew we were here.
And I always wondered what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great to be inside and here with you, so thanks.
So with your background in teaching and the academia part, but then you were still, when you were in Nashville, you were still out there playing. Was that giving you a lot of good juice because you love to play?
Yeah, it does. It helps inspire me, and they inform each other. The academia side gets informed by the performing side and vice versa. And I think it helps a lot with my students because it kind of legitimizes that I'm not just, some guy who reads a bunch of books and then kind of tells them what it means, but I've actually lived the life of a musician. So when they're studying this, when they're studying a subject, say they're studying something about, I don't know, Motown in the 1960s or Nirvana in the 1990s, maybe I can give them a little bit of a different perspective because I have a similar experience to what it's like to be a working musician and going on the road and making records and what the whole process is like. And especially if it's, some of the courses that I've taught have been for non-music majors that are just needing a humanities credit. But especially when I'm teaching music majors, it's helpful to them too because we can talk about it as a vocation and kind of the trials and tribulations and maybe it can be more of a mentorship for their career aspirations. So that's helpful too because they know that I've done the work besides just, sat in an institution and got a degree.
You've done the tour and been around and done all that.
I think it helps them.
Yeah.
So, which is good, which is what you want to do when you're teaching. You want to be able to help your students.
Right.
So.
And do you also write songs?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Tell us about
I'm
that.
not that prolific of a songwriter, but I've been in projects before. Back in Austin, I was in a band called Monahans, and it was a collaborative songwriting project or band. And that's kind of had a life of its own because we've ended up using a lot of our music to license for commercials.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if you know what Whataburger is. But Whataburger is like a burger chain in Texas and maybe the Southwest.
It's called what a burger?
Whataburger.
Whataburger.
Yeah. WHATA burger. Whataburger.
Okay.
And just think of like a Texas cowboy saying that, and you can kind of get it. Like exclaiming like what a great burger he's having. Anyway, they've been a client that has used a lot of our music for some reason, which is very strange to be in like a rock band, writing original material and releasing records, and then maybe you don't sell a lot of those records and you're not a very popular band, but it takes on a life of its own because you end up licensing a lot of your stuff to like a burger chain, which is kind of what's happening right now in the music industry anyway. A lot of bands are generating revenue by licensing music more than necessarily selling physical product.
Right, and it seems to be less and less physical product. What do you think of the streaming of people's music?
I think it's a great thing.
Okay.
I think maybe we need to figure out the economy of it, who should be making what.
How do you get paid?
Yeah, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with streaming music. I think that it's a great thing. I think people want access to music, and why not? I mean, if people want to be listening to music, we should be empowering that, but we should also be doing due diligence to make sure that the proper people are being paid what they're worth.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think we'll figure it out. It's just going to take a little while.
It's quite controversial here in Music City, and how do the songwriters get paid?
Yeah.
And there was a thing in today's paper about what's his name, Brooks, the biggest country music seller of all time. How he wanted to write Garth Brooks, and how he wanted to write with a guy, and the guy said, "No, I can't. I got my day job, but I can do it." He turned him down because of his day job.
That's awful.
And that was like, that kind of like spurred him to go, well, we need to do something about this, because the songwriter just wasn't making any money. You know, he had to do something. You know, so that's quite a subject right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to get into your current work, and I'm going to say it's the RockNRoll Forever Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And I'm going to read here the founders board: Stephen Van Zandt, Jackson Brown, Martin Scorsese, Bono, Bruce Springsteen. Very impressive board. And you are a project manager for that. And I really would like you to kind of explain to the folks out there, what is that?
Well, the RockNRoll Forever Foundation is a nonprofit that Stephen Van Zandt founded probably about 10 years ago. And initially it was founded because of the dropout rate increasing, meaning more and more students were dropping out every year. And his idea was perhaps if you could use music as an opportunity to draw students in an interdisciplinary way, meaning, say like you talk about, I don't know, music of the 60s, well, depending on the music that you're talking about, there may be a social studies aspect to that because of what's happening with the civil rights movement. Or there might be an English language arts aspect to the lesson plan that you create because of the lyrics of Bob Dylan, and you could use that to talk about words and definitions and stanzas and rhyme schemes. And then you could also use it for geography because you could be talking about time and place and how certain regions are creating and cultivating certain musical styles, like here in maybe like Tennessee, and bluegrass and country music, and why it exists the way that it does and why it exists here and its roots here. So that's the initial kind of plan for the foundation, and then over time we've developed a whole set of lesson plans that are available online for free. And then as well as we've developed media partnerships with ABC News and CNN and PBS and HBO and a variety of media organizations where for instance, right now CNN is getting ready to, and has aired some episodes of something called Soundtracks. And it's a documentary series about music in time and place. For instance, talking about Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and music that was happening at that time, and artists that were involved in the whole aftermath of the storm. But then also taking a step back and looking at the history of New Orleans and the music that speaks to previous floods and kind of the socio-political, racial aspect of what's going on in New Orleans. So with that documentary series, we partner up with CNN, and CNN asks us to create lesson plans that teachers could then use based on the media that's in there, meaning the clips, the video clips from their program, to teach about the subjects that are being discussed in the programs.
Wow.
So we're basically taking maybe a documentary series that's only going to air for a finite amount of time. Let's say, for instance, the CNN Soundtracks episodes, they're only going to air in the fall of this year. So they're going to have a shelf life of that long. But if we have a partnership with them and we create lesson plans that can be accessed, they could have a lifetime that could last for years, because teachers would be accessing that content, that media content, in order to teach lesson plans around that content. So we create lesson plans for them based on their documentaries.
Okay. And then let's hone down even more on that with, okay, there's a lesson plan. Give us an example of a current lesson plan, and if I'm a kid, 15-year-old kid, what's going to interest me? And is it rock and roll music, or am I going to be listening to a different kind of music? Or
it's going to be rock and roll music or popular music based.
Okay.
And for instance, I'm writing a lesson plan right now about the Beyonce song "I Was Here." And the reason why we're choosing that song from the partnership that we have with the organization that's asking us to do it is because that song, she performed at the United Nations on World Humanitarian Day in 2011, I believe. And it's all about kind of making your place in the world and leaving a positive legacy.
That's nice.
And so we're creating a lesson plan around that song, but then it's being expanded out to talk about, what would be your mark on the world, and what do you want to achieve. And so maybe there's writing prompts that are involved in that, or maybe students are going to see they're going to go on something, this is more of kind of an educator's term, a gallery walk, where they're going to see a bunch of visual images, and they're going to think about what aspect or what impact did that person have on their life and the world around them. So maybe they're going to see a picture of Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Robert Kennedy, or trying to think of Mother Teresa or something like that.
Right. So to explain this process, are they actually seeing something on a TV screen, a computer screen? How are they seeing
Projected.
this?
Yeah, it's all accessed through our website. That's where the teachers would access all the curriculum.
Okay, so it's
through our website.
It's projected in the classroom like a big screen?
It's accessed through like a JPEG image. So the teacher would have to have access to be able to either show it on a screen on their computer on a laptop, or all the students would be able to access the website if they all had their own individual laptops, or it would be projected at the front of the classroom through a projection, through a projector. So all of our stuff is housed on our website, meaning the teachers don't have to worry about going anywhere else to find the curriculum. Everything that they need for the lesson plan, including the text format of all the lesson plans, any sort of handouts that they're going to give to the students, any sort of video that they're going to show the students, any sort of visual images that they're going to show the students, are all at the website, so that the educator, the teacher, doesn't have to think about jumping around to 8 different sites or 8 different sources to find the content for the lesson plan that they're teaching. It's all centralized, so it makes the process a lot more streamlined for them.
So who pays for the lesson plan to be in the classroom? Who pays for that?
It's completely free for them.
Free?
Yeah, we're funded privately.
So privately, do you do fundraisers or big concerts with
yep, all the
big,
above.
big people? Yeah.
Donors.
Donors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Donors, yes, with names that we would all recognize.
Uh-huh.
But yes, donors. And names that we would all recognize as people that probably have significant funds,
Okay.
personal
right.
funds. So yeah, we're all privately funded.
Okay.
So
So have you actually been in a classroom and seen the kids actually interact with all this?
I have not yet, because I
Okay.
just started about 3 months ago.
Okay.
About 3.5 months ago.
Mhm.
So I am getting ready next Wednesday to fly to Austin, Texas to teach a professional development course for educators in San Marcos, which is just about 30 minutes south of Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we're having a professional development day at San Marcos High School.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be an opportunity. We during the summer, every summer, we have our own workshop that we host in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
where we have about 20 educators come into the city, and we host a workshop for 4 to 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely free to them, except for they have to pay for their own flight to get there and their own lodging.
Right.
So I've had that experience with educators, but this will be the first time that I've actually been in a professional development day with educators.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the fall, once the school year starts, I will be going into and me and my other coworkers will be going into more classrooms
Mm-hmm.
to be experiencing that. Yeah,
I
to be
just
seeing it
wondered,
in action with students.
in Music City itself, you'd think that this is the absolute perfect kind of curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if it's actually being used anywhere in Nashville?
Yes, it is actually being used in Nashville. The institutions that it's being used at, I'm not sure. Mostly public schools. It's being
Okay.
used in all 50 states.
Wow.
Some places more than others. We have a map on our website, teachrock.org,
Mm-hmm.
where you can go and see some of the places that it's being used, or you can read our news kind of blog, which has articles from teachers that are using it. And so their school is usually listed, whether they're in Southern California or Des Moines or
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, Maryland, or Portland, Maine. So yeah, it's being used in all 50 states, but we're still very much a growing
Mm-hmm.
foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is it aimed at kids who may have learning disabilities, or maybe they're not doing well in school, but the music thing, they get it and they'll actually pay attention?
probably more the latter, which is what the intention of us is that it's something that Stephen always says, is that when students walk into a classroom, usually they're being asked to take their earbuds out of their ears.
Right.
And kind of the point of us is that we're engaging them where they're at, meaning, granted, maybe they're listening to an artist that the lesson plan isn't going to be about that day, but it's an artist that they can at least relate to. So maybe if they're listening to Kendrick Lamar, we might not have a lesson plan about Kendrick Lamar per se, but we might have a lesson plan about somebody else related to hip hop or popular music that's very current, not just like, no offense, but not just like Elvis all the time.
Right.
So,
right.
Students in 2017 have, just like any time, whether it's the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or the 60s, they want to be experiencing things that relates directly to their experience.
Right.
And so we're very cognizant of that when we're designing our curriculum.
So could be a hip hop or all the different.
It could be anything. It could be all the way from hip hop, or it could be Chicago blues. You could be learning about Muddy Waters, or you could be learning about Little Richard. I mean, because our curriculum truly does go from like the origins of rock and roll, 1950s, all the way through to the present day.
Wow.
So.
And this job sounds fabulous. I think our listenership would love to know, how did you get this job? When there's a million musicians available, and you got this wonderful job. How'd you get it?
I was looking for a new job, and I found it on idealist.org.
And what is that?
Idealist.org is a website that is primarily geared towards people that are wanting to find careers that really inspire them.
Ooh.
And that they are kind of I don't know, ethically or yeah, they're just feeling like maybe their heart resonates more towards.
Their heart.
Yeah. So I saw it and I thought, this seems like the most amazing job that could have ever been created. Like it was created specifically for me. And
You
so
believed, you saw it. You got on the website and was scrolling through. And
Yep. looking for work, looking for jobs, and I found it, and I applied, and there's a whole cosmic thing going on with it too, though, because I had a connection with somebody directly related to the foundation because of an artist that I was playing in his band with at the time.
Ah,
so
okay.
there was a bit of an in.
Right.
That I had no idea that there was a connection there. Even after I had applied. I'd already applied to the job. I was going on tour, playing a show. The guy that I was playing in a band with, we were commiserating about looking for other work. And I told him the job I was applying for with the RockNRoll Forever Foundation and Steven Van Zandt. And my friend Adam said, well, you know who knows Steven Van Zandt is our band leader, David. And David knows his Steven Van Zandt, and so the whole thing just kind of...
It fell and it was meant to be.
It all kind of went from there, and I had to fly to New York and go to the interview and come back and then wait to hear back from them and then go back. And it was a long process, but it was well worth it.
Yeah. Wow. And that just goes to show you using your creative abilities to find this an amazing job.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to think that the performing aspect of my life was what kind of helped grease the wheels for this much more kind of like, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday job, so it's really interesting.
And you've been groomed your whole life. You've been grooming yourself for all these different positions to the culmination right now, and who knows what's next, but right now it sounds really wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Yes.
I'm very happy.
And I think it's pretty inspirational that how you even got it and you manifested it because you were searching for something more that had meaning. And what a perfect fit, because you are a rock and roll scholar, and you can play, and you can teach, and you can put a lesson plan together. And what a joy that must be for you.
It is. It is. It's really inspiring and humbling, actually, to be doing it. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really grateful.
Yeah, I think that's just a fabulous thing, and everybody out there that has a question about what should I do, I think that you can go on that website, and also there probably is a website for the organization that you're on if people want to. What is that?
Yeah, there's 2 of them. It's rocknrollforever.org.
Okay.
And then the other one where our curriculum is housed is teachrock.org.
Teachrock.org.
All one word, teachrock.org, and then RockNRoll spelled out forever.org.
I see. Okay. All right. Any last thoughts about leaving Nashville? Are you going to miss us?
Yeah, it's bittersweet. No, definitely gonna miss it. I'm a Virginia native, and so the greenery and the hills and the beautiful weather, and I'm going to miss all of that, and all the music and culture and history. I'm going to meet, and I made some really good friends here. And
excellent. Wow. Well, Joshua Zarbo, thank you very, very much for being here.
Thank you.
Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit.